Namaste, Jay Bharat. These days there are a lot of indexes coming out with it and a lot of statistics coming out. The whole business of statistics comes as a result of a so-called scientificity. Once upon a time in European knowledge tradition, being scientific was important and scientificity was called for because they were in the so-called dark period. They were in the dark period, not the entire world. The Europe was in dark period, which they themselves call as dark period. They have a tendency of making everything worldwide, though that really is not the case. Look at both European wars. Both European wars they started calling as World War One, World War Two. Not really world wars, though people have subsequently joined hands due to various factors and reasons. But actually, they were essentially European wars, and let's be realistic about things in the world. Why giving misconceptions and wrong ideas to the people, those who look at history? Similarly, this scientificity, they had to go for a scientific knowledge because they were in the dark period. But they have this habit, Europeans in general, they go to extremes because they have this trouble with the dichotomies, either this or that. If not this, then that, and if not that, then this. This kind of dichotomy. This is what mostly we find. This is what's happening with most of the theories. Now, look at this. They are worried and torn between being scientific and being unscientific, and they, of course, went up to the extent of a positive philosophy with Auguste Comte, who was juxtaposing positivism with implied negativism, which of course in this context was religion, Christianity and Catholicism at that time primarily. So with the result of this, the kind of mechanical tools were set to evaluate knowledge, and statistics comes forward, data and samples and statistics. These things were getting used more and more, projecting them as the kind of knowledge that one should go for, so making it so-called scientific. So we have a lot of statistics and data playing around, but subsequently in time there were vested interests getting into this. They were playing into data because it's easy for people to manipulate data and produce desired results. Once that happens, the whole scientific thing gets thwarted. Actually, the person who was much more obsessed with scientificity was none other than Marx. It's Marx who wanted to make a distinction between scientific and utopian and scientific. That's how he had been looking at things. But he himself is a great romantic, and he himself is a great speculator. His kind of scientificity has hardly any scientificity, I would say, because science per se proper should be based on cause-effect relationship, knowledge of causation, knowledge of causality, or knowledge of causal connection, which makes predictions 100% possible. This is ideal or archetype scientific understanding, which is not the case with any kind of social knowledge. Now, here what I was trying to say is there are so many indexes and data coming forward. For instance, some time back somebody brought out a happiness index. Somebody talks about poverty index. Someone talks about happiness index, and all these indexes are basically spurious because these indexes are produced at the instance of bigotry. Someone wants things to be portrayed in this manner, so he gets they pay they outsource and pay some agency who would produce results as desired by their payers. It's kind of buying and selling. That's I don't call business. Business is supposed to mean something big. It's something of a trade, the trading activity, buying and selling. You give me these things, make these things, and I'll give you this much. That kind of things. So that is how you have many funny things coming out. Happiness index, and that's what I was talking about. Happiness index. They would say Bangladesh is the happiest nation in the world, and they will say some other nation which is really much better is somewhere below the list. This is because they deliberately wanted to portray that, to glorify someone, not really to glorify someone, but to show someone down. Some emerging authorities, some emerging power like Bharat, they wanted to say that we are not doing well, to create a confusion. For what? Whose sake? For their own sake. Many times for their own funny satisfaction. Don't you know that all these things were done in European knowledge itself long before? You cannot make indexes. You cannot quantify. That's the point. You cannot quantify. You see, John Stuart Mill, who told his father that I prefer to be the most unhappy Socrates than the happiest pig in the world, because his father, James Stuart Mill and Bentham, Jeremy Bentham, they were trying to speak about quantifying pleasure or quantifying happiness. They made set of criteria with which they believe that pleasure, happiness can be measured or quantified. So, if John Mill's argument is so simple and nice, if you can measure, given your standards of happiness, a pig is more happy than Socrates. What a wonderful answer. So he says, I prefer to be the most unhappy Socrates than the happiest pig in the world. With their kind of happiness measuring indexes, criteria, with which it comes to the point that a pig, we just play in the mud, enjoying itself, is supposed to be much more happier than a Socrates who sits and contemplates. That is a problem with this quantification business. They try to quantify quality. Now, that's a technical aspect which is absolutely wrong. But in spite of that, these modern Romeos, modern heroes, or modern utilitarians, and modern heroines are still at work. For them, I think, is the bread and butter. They make money by providing the desired results to people in a technical manner, so-called scientific manner, to say that Bangladesh people are much more happier in the world as compared to somebody else. So one more thing you should remember at this time. In our knowledge tradition and Bharatiya knowledge tradition, there is also an understanding, for many people ignorance is bliss. For many people ignorance is bliss. How can you really account that kind of bliss as real bliss? Please think for yourselves and ask for yourselves. Henceforth, when someone comes to you with some kind of indexes, just show him the real place. Show them the right way, and also send them a slip. Ignorance is bliss, and remain blissful in your choice. So till we see again. Namaste. Jai Bharat and Jai Shri Ram.